Have the lockdowns turned us in to a nation of alcoholics? Okay, so it's been a real strange year. I mean, in terms of strangeness, this year has been exceptionally strange. By any metric, by any measure. Lockdowns, people confined to their homes, confined to 2-kilometre distances, unable to meet friends, relatives, loved ones. Can't go on holidays, can't work. So what are you left with? Well, for a lot of people, whatever you've got in your house, whatever you've got in your gaff, Netflix and alcohol. So I came across a couple of articles here and I found them very interesting, because when all this does end, and it will end, and I think the end of the war is near, there's going to be some really bitter aftertastes left societally, because we've just been put through the ringer for over a year, a prolonged period of time. People have had to cope with situations that have never had to be coped with before. There was no training for it. There was no lead-in to it. Nobody did night classes on it. Nobody studied it in school. Nobody did a college degree in it. But we were all suddenly dropped in it. And once we do emerge, which I think we will shortly, I hope we do shortly, there's a whole years plus of alternate living, alternate lifestyle, alternate problems that are going to come tumbling out of the closet. And one of those problems that I think we're going to have to grapple with is that a lot of people, through sheer boredom, through sheer being driven up the walls, every day being like the previous day and the next day. And a lot of people never having had to deal with that before, never having been unable to go places, see people, interact with people, meet people. That's beyond most people's range of comprehension, but we've all had to do it. And a surprisingly large amount of people, I think, have got into bad habits and have gone down roads that they otherwise never would have before, because they've never been in that position before. They have no training for that position. They have no precautions made for that position, and they just went off to all kinds of different tangents. And I think alcohol has become a crutch, has become a means to just basically shorten the days, dispel some boredom, just make the grind more bearable. Even if people would have known it was a bad solution. Okay, it's a bad solution, but it's a solution. So let's have a look at this. I came across a couple of articles I think they're worth looking at. This first one here is from Sarah Vine. It's in the Mail. Lockdown drinking. It's just the tip of the iceberg, writes Sarah. Let's just see what she has to say about it, and we can have another look at some other stuff. Sarah writes, levels of drinking among baby boomers have soared during lockdown. What's a baby boomer? Am I a baby boomer? Let's read on. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. More and more are consuming alcohol at a level indicative of probable alcohol dependence, including having their first drink in the morning.
Drink!
I think that's become a thing, because you have no structure to the day. You know, when you're working, when schools are in flux and in flow, and there's people all having to be in certain places at certain time, the day has a structure. The day has an actual beginning, middle, and an end. And alcohol, if it fitted into that day, well, it fitted in the end, because you've got to operate during the day. You've got to go to work. You've got to drive. You've got to leave kids to school. You've got to go do shopping. You've got a lot of stuff to do, and you can't do that and be drunk. Well, okay, technically you can do it, but not many people go that particular road. So when a day doesn't have any structure anymore, it's got no beginning, when you just wake up at whenever you wake up, it doesn't matter if you can't sleep because there's nothing to sleep it for. You're just drifting, really. You're just drifting around the house. You just throw on some kind of a robe or a thong, or whatever. So maybe you'll just open a bottle of wine. Maybe you'll just say, drink! I'll flick on Netflix, see what's going on. Maybe you're watching a box set or something. There's nobody to tell you don't do it. Drink! Nobody's watching you. Nobody cares. Nobody can watch you. You can't watch anybody else. You're just in your own bubble. They're in their own bubbles, and everybody's just doing what they like, with nobody caring, nobody watching, nobody knowing. So, let's read on. That's what a new study of people aged 55 to 74. Okay, I'm not a baby boomer, thank God. I mean, I'm old, but Christ, I'm not that old. By King's College London tells us. Well, I would believe that. And I can't say this comes as a surprise. Well, it comes as no surprise to me either. Anecdotally, among my friends and family, drink has become a crutch during those long, bleak months of isolation. That I can concur with. She goes on, my female friends and I have had endless conversations about how at the end of a long working day, working from home, that's even if you had work to do at home. A lot of people didn't even have that. Trying to keep the house clean, and there's only so much of that you can do. Shop, cook, supervise homeschooling. The one thing we look forward to is a nice glass of wine or vodka and tonic. Drink! Is vodka and tonic nice? I never had that. Vodka and Coke. Tonic, more of a gin and tonic. Yeah, I can imagine that. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. She goes on, my preferred tipple these past months has been rosé with the addition of a handful of ice cubes. Ice cubes and, okay, whatever. I like to think the ice mitigates things slightly. It doesn't. But deep down I know I'm lying to myself. Yes, you are. I'm still drinking far more than usual. Lockdown drinking is different to the sort that happens when you're having fun with friends. In lockdown it's grim, determined, and aimed more at diffusing the endless boredom. Exactly, it's not a social thing anymore. It's a get through the day thing. It's a get through the boredom thing. It's to just wanting the day to be as short as possible. You know, if you drink to a certain level, you're going to fall asleep. Day's over, gone. What is it, like 6 o'clock in the afternoon, in the evening? There you go. At the pub or restaurant, dignity will tell you when you've had enough. Not always. But when the only distance you have to stagger is from sofa to bed, who's to know? Only the bin men who carry away the bottles for recycling. Of course, not everyone has turned to alcohol. Plenty of people, or so it seems, from social media. Oh, social media, the absolute bastion of truth. Have been engaging in more edifying pursuits such as baking, yoga, reading Ulysses, and so on. No, they haven't. I've certainly been walking a lot more. Okay, yeah, people are doing that. And cycling. Yeah, okay. Which is probably no bad thing. No, it's no bad thing at all. You can keep yourself fit. Live your best life. And I go to bed much earlier. Well, I think a lot of people are doing that because they probably pass out. Yeah, and not from tiredness. Mostly, if I'm honest, to stop myself opening another bottle of wine. Oh, yeah, some people having a bit of crack there. It looks like it'd freeze the cockles off you. Wouldn't fancy that. No thanks, lads and lassies. Yeah, bit of revelers there. Where's that? Doesn't say it. But in many cases, drinking is just the tip of the iceberg. The reality for most has been that a blanket of weary negativity has settled over us all. Well, a year of being completely taken out of your life, it's not good. That's bound to wear anybody down. I know young people who were doing brilliantly at school who have lost all drive and ambition. Others who have become obsessed with computer games or developed eating disorders. Doctors are seeing a sharp spike among these, or who have begun self-harming. Well, like I said at the start, I think there's an absolute barrel of problems that's going to come tumbling out of the closet when this ends. Just stored up. They're stored up. You can't see them now. You can't see them now because everything's battened down. Everything is locked away. These things are, to all intents and purposes, they're invisible right now because everybody is not in their normal space, in their normal place, and doing their normal things, and everybody's kind of cut off from everybody else we knew. When everything comes back together, which I believe it will, that's when it's going to get interesting. And in what way I don't know, but society is not going to be the same, at least not initially. One consultant I know who specialises in treating such things is block booked until September. Bearing in mind she charges £450, that's not euros, that's pound an hour. Good Lord. What's that consultant? I should have got into that. 450 quid an hour? You shitting me? That's a job I should be in. And that's saying something. Well, it's saying that I'm in the wrong job, because 450 quid an hour is the job I should be doing. This is why I can't blame people for bending the rules. Quite honestly, if I'm seeing a friend on the sly help someone in their sanity, is it really so bad for your sanity? No, it's not that bad. Even so, it's odd how used we have become to having our freedoms restricted, which is why it is vital to remind ourselves it's not normal and should never be. And let's hope once we get this thing done and dusted and finished that it never happens again. Like, that's, if you say a prayer for that, because this is society ripping stuff. This is really, really getting to the absolute heart of a society and ripping that heart out. People aren't designed to live like that. Okay, we all know that antisocial person that probably loved it, but apart from that, 99% of us aren't designed to live in that level of isolation. So let us hop on to another little article I found here. Let's have a look at this second article that I found here, if I can just get my doodah to work. And this is an article that I found from this is an article I found, and it is from Patient Info News and Features. It's a NewsGuard certified thing, so it should be a game ball. Should you worry about your lockdown drinking habits? I think the answer to that is an unequivocal yes, you should. Obviously, if you're a teetotaler, best of luck to you. You're probably better off in these times, assuming you haven't gone mad, of course, in which case you should probably take a drink. Should you worry about your lockdown drinking habits? We're stuck at home. This is authored by Natalie Healy and reviewed by Dr. Sarah Jarvis, MBE. Right. We're stuck at home without our usual hobbies, so it may be tempting to drink a little more and a little earlier in the day than usual. But when does it become a problem? We may not be able to go to the pub, but that doesn't mean all of us are off the sauce. Supermarkets have reported an increase in alcohol sales during the coronavirus pandemic, which could suggest some people are turning to booze to cope with isolation and emotional upheaval they're feeling over this period. Well, there's no doubt about that. That's a given. I have one friend who owns a local supermarket, and I happened to be chatting to him one day, and he was telling me that his sales in the off-license part of the supermarket have just gone into orbit, into the stratosphere. Absolutely ballistic. The off-license sales. It's obviously one of a number of different parts of the store, but he says he could just live off the off-license alone. And he was telling me that the guy that they have who does does local deliveries and stuff, you do like all supermarkets now. You ring up, you tell them what you want, and they send it around in a van. Well, he was saying that Johnny was going to different houses. He'd be showing up with the groceries at like 12 o'clock or half 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the hour, and the people would come to the door twisted, balubas, 3 sheets to the wind, drunk, like pissed.
Drink!
You know, like no beginning or end to a day. Everything just in a state of flux. Let's read on a little bit more. Our usual routines are gone, and we're no longer able to access any of the coping mechanisms we turned to before COVID uprooted our lives. That evening glass of wine, either alone or over a video call with your friends, may be one of the few things to look forward to during each challenging, strange day. But are some of us drinking too much to get through the uncertainty? Yes. Having alcohol available in homes for many people can be a source of temptation and lead to drinking without thinking, points out Elaine Hindle, CEO of DrinkAware. DrinkAware, a lot of pearl clutching goes on with DrinkAware. I mean, you know, I get that's their shtick, but let's read on. Without the usual structure in our lives, things can quickly become habits. If you've been furloughed or have less work than usual, it's tempting to start drinking earlier in the day than you normally would. Similarly, without our usual sources of entertainment, boredom can lead to some of us drinking more than usual. We know all that. Consultant psychiatrist Dr. Andrew Illes of Priory's Wellbeing Centre in Oxford says initially people may have found the additional time in their homes a welcome break from the day-to-day routine of work and the school run, but as time has gone on, they may have found themselves drinking more. And that, I think, is exactly what it is. Nearly 4 in 10 UK drinkers say they drink because they think it helps when they're feeling anxious. According to DrinkAware research from 2018, and almost half, 48%, say they've reached for booze to cheer themselves up when they've been in a bad mood. During the coronavirus crisis, your emotions could well be all over the place. When you're unmoored from the shore, you know, during this past year, a lot of people have just been cast adrift. No structure, just floating off into the ocean. And they're grabbing at anything at all that makes that in any way seem any better. Alcohol, as I say, it's not a good solution, but it is a solution. But even though we might associate drinking with relieving stress, regularly having too much is bad news for your mental health. The reason for this paradox is that alcohol is a depressant, which means it slows down our central nervous system. Drinking too much, too regularly, can actually make negative feelings worse and anxiety and stress even harder to deal with than before. Drinking can seem like the answer when you're feeling isolated, says Hindle, but alcohol can interfere with processes in the brain that are important for good mental health, as well as contribute to symptoms of severe depression. Tracking how much you're drinking and being able to spot patterns could help. DrinkAware's app can help you identify if alcohol is affecting your mood. So, as I said, there's a lot of this stuff. It's in the wings. It's not readily available. It's not readily visible now. It's just kind of in the shadows. And once this world comes back to normal, everybody has to go back to whatever work they'd been doing. Schools are back to normal. The routine is back to normal. You can go wherever you want, whenever you want, meet anybody you like, any place you like, at any time you like. When all that comes back, as it will, how much of this detritus, of these bad habits, of these destructive habits, how much of those are going to be still kind of anchored to people, you know? How much of this will have its hooks into people's lives, into people's daily routines, into people's mindsets? That's going to be the interesting part. Now, as if on cue, as if, they never miss an opportunity, and as if on cue, welcome to Ireland. Cabinet signs off on plans to introduce minimum unit price for alcohol. You just knew it was coming, didn't you? You knew it was coming. Oh, the old Irish government. They never miss a trick. Paul Cunningham, political correspondent here on RTE. The Cabinet has signed off on a plan by Minister for Health, Stephen Donnelly, to introduce a minimum unit price for alcohol. So it's all, get that tax in, boys. Get the tax in. Get the old tax in there. Yeah. Oh, never waste a good crisis. Never waste a good crisis, the Irish government. So there you go, folks. Are you drinking too much during lockdown? Are we all drinking too much during lockdown? Or do you never take a drop? If you don't, good for you. But for a lot of people, this is an issue. And it's going to be interesting to see how exactly people come back into the real world again and start living a real life again, and can they flick that switch and go back to having a few pints at the weekend, or an occasional glass of Chardonnay if you have a particularly stressful day, or will they have a different way of living? Well, we shall see. Interesting times ahead.